I worked in Woolworth's dime store when I got out of high school, and that was the middle of the 3, 5, and dimes. Greens, S.H. Greens were on one side, and on the other side was Kresge's. Um, both Kresge's and Greens had a soda fountain. Woolworth's did not. Woolworth's had a wooden floor, and our only air conditioning was the big ceiling fans that would go around. I can remember Front Street being 100 degrees outside, and Front Street would be so hot out on that pavement, it must have been 110, 115. We would take our shoes off and walk barefoot behind the counters because it would be so hot in the store. And the poor woman, Marion Hankel, had the candy counter, and she would hardly keep anything in it on those hot days. The rest of it was down in the basement because the chocolates would just melt to nothing. So she'd have those candy peanuts or, some kind of nougat or something like that to keep it from. I kind of laugh today, so many women have pierced ears. Almost everybody has.
Yeah.
I don't have pierced ears. When I worked in Woolworths, we had a few pierced earrings, mostly big hoops. And the only people that ever came in to buy those earrings were gypsy types or low class. I mean, you didn't pierce your ears. It just wasn't done. So when everybody was piercing their ears, I remembered that, and I just couldn't do it. I have clip earrings when I wear them. The across the street was J.C. Penney's and Buttery's and Pierce's. Pierce's was a high-class store. A couple of shoe stores. And at the other end was Queen Frocks, and that was a ladies' store too. And upstairs were rented apartments. I can remember Mrs. Diamond lived in one, and so Mother would take me to see her, and she had a front apartment, so hers was a little bigger. But my grandmother had Therese Woolfolk, who lived with her for a while as a hired maid, and her husband had died and she never had any kids. And when she was elderly, she lived in one of those little apartments up above the Queen Frocks. It was one room. She had a heating plate to heat her lunch, and a cot that she slept on, and a clothes strung around with her clothes hung on it. And I particularly remember the bathroom. It was all women, and there were about 8 apartments up there. And if they wanted to go to the bathroom, they had to go down the hall, and there was one stall with a sink, but they had to take sponge baths because there was no shower or and everybody used the same bathroom. Now, can you imagine today in the United States people living in a place like that? All she had was her old age pension, which was probably something like $20 a month or something. So, I can remember my grandmother would sometimes go visit her and take some canned goods, soup and things like that.